Greetings from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Welcome back to the Crow's Nest for our Sunday chat. I want to apologize real quick for no Fine 5 on Friday. The reason being was I was simply just really sore. I was in bed all day Thursday. I didn't eat anything on Thursday. And then Friday, I was just so sore, man. I was struggling to get around. And, you know, some days that's just the way it happens with me. So, had my neighbors worried to death because I wasn't answering text messages or phone calls. And I was just, you know, chillaxing. And it was just something I just needed to do, was just take a bunch of medicine and just lay down and rest. And just sometimes that's the way the ball bounces. So I do apologize for that. Also, quick update, the box is with Parsimonious Piper in North Carolina. Ethan, the box goes to the Mudgeonator next, so Mudge will get her next, and then she'll start journeying back towards Pennsylvania, a little more north now. Series E by Crowned Heads Cigars. Really good cigar for sure. So this week's Sunday chat is going to be discussing something that Dave, St. David's Pipes, brought up. And it was an interesting question. And I didn't want to just write it in the comments. I thought it would make a pretty cool little chit chat. So I decided to do it that way instead. And his question was, if you could name a couple of pipe tobacco blends, what would you name them? And he was also very kind to add cigars to that list, which, Dave, I really appreciate you doing that, because you know my love for cigars and everything. So I do appreciate that. So, I have two of each. And I also have another special addition to it. So, first we will do the cigars. The two cigars that I would name would be, one would be the Crow's Nest. I know, right? And then the second one would be the Railroad Cut. And the reason why it would be called the Railroad Cut is because if you look up anything to do with the Wisconsin Brigade, they, led by one of my favorite colonels, he got promoted to a colonel or a general there at the end. He led his crew into what was called what is now known as the Railroad Cut, and they just massacred these Southern Confederate soldiers. And it got to the point where when they were making their charge, they were running out of bullets. And by the time they were able to reach the Railroad Cut, which is a huge ditch, you know, it's real deep. It's probably about, I don't know, 6 foot deep maybe. It's a pretty good hill to get into her. And they were hiding down in there. So they did have the upper hand, because basically the Wisconsin Brigade was fishing a burrow coming across that open cut like that, the field. But they were able to make it to there. And once they were able to get in, it was hand-to-hand combat, and it was a lot of knives and my mind went blank. Shoot. It was a lot of knives, really, really brutal fist fights, hitting each other with butts of guns, and then, you know, It was just brutal, but they did prevail. So that now is named the Railroad Cut. And Rufus Dawes is one of my favorite officers of the Civil War. He just had that really mean, excuse my English, but badass looks to him. And he was quite a leader. He was definitely quite a leader. So it was a brutal scene there for a while, till they were able to take over and win that out. Now, pipe tobaccos. The pipe tobaccos that I would name are two as well, and one would be the Gettysburg Address, simply because of the fact of how well known the Gettysburg Address is. And I just think it'd be really cool to have one named the Gettysburg Address. And then the second one, oh, by the way, the Gettysburg Address would be a dominantly burley blend, just because of the fact that so many people were gathered around there, that mostly everything that they were smoking at that point were Burleys and Virginias. So it would be a Burley Virginia blend. Dominantly a Burley would be my choice of options there. That may lead me to blending one of those, actually. I'm not sure yet. And then my second blend of pipe tobacco would be called Jenny Wade. Now, if y'all don't know anything about Jenny Wade is the only civilian that was killed during the 3-day battle here in Gettysburg. She was actually kneeling down, kneading bread at the time for her family during the battle. And she actually even opened the door to the room behind her, or adjacent to her, so she had an extra doorway between her and the outer wall of the house to protect her while she was doing it. Still, unfortunately, there was a shell that was able to go through the wall and the door, and it gouged her and caused her to pass away. Now, she's got a beautiful burial site. She's been buried twice? 3 times, maybe. I think it's 3 times she was buried, if I remember correctly. Her mother would not leave her in the house, so the Union soldiers were kind enough to carry Jenny's body to the basement where they laid her. They took all the canning stuff that they had, and they laid her on the table and had her covered with cheesecloth. And then the mother refused to leave the house without her daughter. So what they did was they went out back, and 2 Union soldiers buried Jenny in the yard so they could get her mom and her sister to safety. And that eventually led to her being buried a second time in the cemetery in which she is buried now, which turned out to be more of a, they later on decided to make that a pure soldier cemetery, so they had to redig her up and rebury her into the civilian section, which now she has a gorgeous statue above her grave for her tombstone. It's beautiful. It stands like 7 or 8 foot tall. It is absolutely beautiful. If I could dig up a picture or two of it, I will do so and put it at the end of the film here. So that would be my second one. And that would be an aromatic blend, only for the simple reason that I think it should be that because of the fact that she was a woman. And I would think that if they were going to smoke in the house at that time, the women would probably prefer something that had a nice room note to it. So that's why I would make that a aromatic for the Jenny Wade blend. So, thirdly, you cannot have a cigar or a pipe in that era and not have a cup of mud, folks. You just cannot. So, I would probably name it campfire kettle coffee, and or campfire canned coffee, because a lot of times they just used old coffee cans to brew their coffee if they didn't have the old metal like cowboy coffee. So I would probably name it campfire kettle coffee is what I would name it. So that way you would have a good strong cup of mud to go with your cigar, the crow's nest, and or the railroad cut. Or if you were going to enjoy a pipe, it would simply be G. Burger Dress if you're looking for a burley blend. Or if you're just an aromatic guy or smoking in around a crowd in that era, you would be smoking Jenny Wade. So Dave, I hope this was informal. I really appreciate it. You really made me dig deep into that rabbit hole, man. Like, I couldn't just come up with names. I had to really come up with some things to go with it. So that's what I came up with. I hope you appreciated it and you enjoyed it, more importantly. So for those who are going to light up a pipe or pack or smoke that great, until we can get together and pack a pipe or smoke that great cigar, let all that you do be done in love. Y'all take care and God bless. No editing here, folks. Enjoy the slideshow here at the end.